following is my own true story from my personal experience. They do not speak on behalf of the United States Marine Corps or any other U.S. Marine.
In March of 2016, a recruit by the name of Sadiqui would approach drill instructor Gunnery Sergeant Felix, passing him a note stating that his sore throat was so swollen that he was unable to speak and that he needed to go to medical. Instead of sending him to medical, the drill instructor made recruit Sadiqui run back and forth in the squad bay until he collapsed while still holding onto his throat. Gunnery Sergeant Felix then proceeded to slap this recruit across the face while he was still on the floor before the recruit plunged off of a 40-foot staircase and fell to his death. The following investigation would reveal an entire scandal of drill instructors torturing recruits and singling out recruits for their religious beliefs before hazing them. During this investigation, it was found that on 2 separate occasions, Gunnery Sergeant Felix, alongside other drill instructors, forced recruits into an industrial dryer before turning it on. Recruit Burmesh was one of these people, in which he was placed into an industrial dryer and had it turned on 3 times, in which he suffered severe burns to his body, all while being asked if he would renounce his Muslim faith after each cycle. Only after the 3rd cycle, fearing for his life and that the drill instructors were actually going to kill him, did he renounce his faith, after which the drill instructor let him out. It didn't stop there. The investigation also revealed Gunnery Sergeant Felix and a host of other drill instructors complicit in doing things like forcing recruits to drink chocolate milk until they vomited, and on one night Felix and other drill instructors woke up nearly 24 recruits and forced them to lay on the ground as they walked all over them, and in other instances punching and beating the recruits with rifles. Felix would be demoted to private, given a dishonorable discharge, and sentenced to 10 years in a military prison for the incidents of hazing, but was not charged for the death of Sadiqui as it was ruled a suicide. When asked why he did these things by investigators, he told them, and I quote, "You have to hate recruits to train them." I am saying this not to make light of anything, nor am I implying that your average United States Marine Corps drill instructor wants to murder and seriously injure recruits. I am saying all this because Marine Corps boot camp does have a pretty infamous, and some might even say legendary, reputation, for better or worse, for having some insane stuff go down. I mean, there are movies and shows centered entirely on Marine Corps boot camp, and there is a reason for that. Some drill instructors do go pretty, how do I put this, batshit crazy, and I've seen and heard about recruits being forced to swap underwear, eat sand cookies, and do just some ridiculous shit. My receiving drill instructor, which is the first drill instructor put in charge of you, sat us down on the first night of boot camp and completely unprompted gave us a 20-minute monologue where he started telling us that due to his rough upbringing and after he lost his daughter, he was filled with so much anger and rage that he wanted to enlist in the Marines and die. He tells us how he got sent to be a receiving drill instructor because he was undergoing some disciplinary action, and we could only guess what that meant. And at first I thought this dude was just trying to scare us, but as he continued to talk, we all realized that this dude was being dead serious. And then he threatened to kill us. And like I said, this was on my very first night of boot camp, and I thought I walked into an insane asylum. Receiving week deserves a whole dedicated video, and so I will save that story for later. But today's story surrounds one of the most infamous days of Marine Corps boot camp, the day you meet your drill instructors. The day dedicated to fucking you up, and a day that got its own name in the boot camp curriculum. Black Friday. Welcome to episode 14 of Marine Corps Chronicles, and this video is a big thank you for hitting 100k subs, in which I will have not 1, not 2, but 3, possibly even 4, depending on how fast I can edit the videos before I go to Namibia at the end of this month, Marine Corps Chronicle episodes coming out as a special celebration. 1 episode for each digit, okay, technically 100k, 6 digits, you know what I mean, released in this timeline, and I'm not trying to edge anyone, but I actually have to edit these videos first. I also want to take time to leave this special 100k message, and if you don't care, hey, I put timestamps below for a reason. When I started this channel, I had no idea that people would enjoy my style of storytelling, but as time goes on, I see a lot of people asking for more stories, both civilian and Marine Corps ones. And don't worry, there are many more stories to come. However, the reason why I save these Marine Corps stories specifically for special occasions is because I don't want my time in the military to solely define this channel or who I am as a person. Let me make this clear, this isn't me throwing shade at anyone that makes exclusive content about their time in the military. In fact, from an algorithm content creator perspective, that actually makes a lot of sense. I am just speaking for myself here. There's just also the fact that I have a lot of stuff other than stories that I'm passionate about and want to make videos on. And so whether you're a new or old sub, I'm happy you enjoy my videos, and I hope to entertain for as long as I can, as long as people keep watching. Just please understand that this is more of a variety channel, where I will post stories, video essays, military simulation games, history, etc. And while not every video is everyone's cup of soup, I promise you that I put in maximum effort into all of my videos, and so if you like these hamsters, they're also in my other non-story videos too. So Thanks again for 100k subs, and let's get into the story. But first we need to set the scene. Black Friday is the first Friday after receiving week. Receiving is when you show up on the depot, and I went to MCRD San Diego, where you take care of a bunch of administrative stuff, such as getting your uniforms issued, haircuts, any medical vaccinations, and general health stuff, etc, etc. And as I was saying in the intro, the entire time you're being herded around by a receiving drill instructor who can and does fuck you up every time you step out of line, but that drill instructor is not the group of drill instructors that will actually train you for the rest of boot camp. And that day you meet your drill instructors is called Black Friday. Black Friday exists for a reason, and that is to terrify recruits so that they fall in line and don't start getting real greasy with their mouths, because believe it or not, there are people who enlist in the Marines who do not like being given orders or bossed around. Some of these recruits do develop an attitude problem, shall we say, and they start getting real greasy and squirrely with their mouths unless the drill instructor checks them. Also keep in mind, Marine Corps boot camp is 13 weeks long. That is a long ass time for a basic training. That is longer than your average American public school summer break, which is usually around 10 weeks. So imagine spending essentially an entire summer break plus a month completely isolated and getting fucked up by drill instructors. Anyways, that Black Friday we got taken from a receiving building squad bay, which is where we were living for the first few days while in receiving, and marched into our actual squad bays that we would use for the most of boot camp. The buildings we had were shaped like a horseshoe, with each section of a building housing a company, and the middle courtyard of these buildings being a place where we did laundry, which was placing them in this like big long trough that we then scrubbed with water, soap, and brushes and all that. And each company is then divided into platoons, and within these buildings were 3 floors, with both sides of each floor housing a different platoon. I was in Charlie Company, and specifically my platoon was on the 3rd floor, aka the 3rd deck. And so we all sprint up the staircase and enter into our actual squad base. The squad bays look pretty much exactly like what you see in Full Metal Jacket, with rows of metal bunk beds, or what we call the racks. And other than the metal bunks and the old bare mattresses on top of each bunk, there's really not much else for me to describe because it was empty when we got there. Once we got into the squad bay, we lined up in front of our racks, and then we hung up our war bags, which were these coyote brown shoulder bags that double as a backpack if you wanted them to, alongside our 2 sea bags, which were these larger cylindrical green bags that we either stage on or next to our racks, I forget. And then we lined up in front of the squad bay, aka the quarterdeck, next to where all the drill instructors sleep and hang out, which is what we call the duty hut. And then we all sat down. I'm sitting in the back left of my platoon, and my platoon was huge since this was peak summertime. And so as we're all waiting around, an officer steps out, and he is very calm. He starts giving us like a by the books introduction of expectations during boot camp, blah blah blah. After his speech, he says, "I will now introduce you to your drill instructors." And out of the duty hut marches our soon-to-be senior drill instructor, who stands out in front, and then behind him marches 3 more drill instructors, who then stand at parade rest. The officer then faces the senior drill instructor, the dude in front, and I can't really make out what he's saying because his back is turned towards me and he's talking a regular tone, so I can't make out what he's saying. All I know is that my drill instructors all then raise their hands and then swear like an oath to take us under their command, followed by a salute as the officer leaves. Now, this is when the fun begins. The senior drill instructor screams, "Sit up straight and look at me," and we all pop our backs and stare at him. And then he proceeds to introduce the rest of the drill instructors in charge of us. We have our kill hat. This is usually the newest of the drill instructors, and while all drill instructors can mess you up, this guy has a dedicated role to mess you up. And our kill hat was crazy. This guy had eyes that looked like they were about to explode out of his head, and spit would fly everywhere when he was screaming. He was also 6'3" or something like that, and he had one of those sleeper muscular builds that looked like he could kick a telephone pole in two, and he was crazy athletic and good at running. He would actually end up being my favorite drill instructor despite messing me up, because the dude was mad funny as the camp went on. Our drill hat, the guy responsible for teaching us drill, was maybe 5'6", 5'8", something like that, and he was extremely fit and had a very good singing voice. I know it sounds weird, but he was really good at calling cadences, and he had a good voice. Next, we had our knowledge hat, the guy responsible for teaching us random stuff we needed to know and help us study for our classes. Yes, we had classes in boot camp, and this dude was also terrifying, but in like a serial killer kind of way. He had these insane, crazy eyes that looked like he was one spark away from throwing a stick of dynamite at your feet, and he could go from super calm and teacher-like to exploding in rage with the flip of a switch. Our senior drill instructor was a mountain of muscle. His arm looked like tree trunks, and I actually liked him the least. It wasn't personal like that, but he barely interacted with us and really only did it when if he wanted to like fuck us up. The senior drill instructor is supposed to be the quote-unquote father figure of the drill instructors, but to be honest, he was just sort of like another their kill hat whenever he showed up. The gist is that you have more than just one drill instructor in boot camp, each with different roles, but they could all mess you up. So once the senior drill instructor made his speech, we were all told to stand up and shake our legs to get our blood flowing, which can never be a good sign, and this is because recruits have often passed out before what's about to happen happens. They then scream at us to sprint to our racks, and as we stand in front of them, all hell breaks loose. The drill instructors explode across the room. They're dumping people's gear, throwing people's mattresses, and this entire time we have to follow whatever instructions they're screaming at us. We are not allowed to look at drill instructors in the eyes unless they give a command like eyeballs, and then you will scream click and then snap your head and look at the DI. Other than that, you are standing at attention and staring off into space unless told otherwise. You also need to talk in the third person, so this recruit, and if they catch you saying I, they would fuck you up. If you need to approach and ask a drill instructor something, or if a DI or another person who isn't a recruit walks by, you need to give them the greeting of the day according to customs and courtesy. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, sir or ma'am, ladies or gentlemen, etc., and permission to speak. Although at this time there were only males allowed at MCRD San Diego. If a DI gives you a command, you have to respond with aye aye sir, and if it's a question, you have to respond with yes or no sir. And no, we never said sir, yes sir. In fact, the DIs would mess you up if you did that and say that you watch too many movies. If the DI said 0, then you would have to freeze and stop moving, and if the DI started counting down, then you better get moving. And if you don't do any of what I just said, they will fuck you up. My rack is at the back left of the squad bay, thankfully not at the very front, so I usually had some breathing room where the DIs wouldn't see me the moment they left their duty hut and catch me doing something stupid. What that also means is that I can see the entire squad bay from where I am standing. We're given a command to unlock our footlockers, which were these huge fiberglass or plastic containers, and on them we used a regular combination padlock that you would find like at a school gym. They start to count down. 60, 59, 58, 54, 53, 52, 30, 29, 28. Like they would literally skip numbers, and if you didn't finish unlocking your footlocker or whatever task they asked you to do before then, you were screwed. I said in a previous video, there are guys in boot camp who don't know their left and right, so imagine trying to get 90 plus guys to unlock a 3-number combination padlock under time constraints. 0, we all freeze, and if we did unlock our locker, we hold the lock out in front of us with an arm outstretched. Thankfully, I and the dudes around me got our footlockers unlocked, but as I'm trying to look at the rest of the squad bay with my peripheral vision, I see other recruits bent over, still trying to unlock their footlockers despite time running out. The drill instructors are not stupid. I hear someone scream, so we want to play games, right? One of the DI shoves aside the recruit that managed to get his lock unlocked after time had run out, and then the DI grabs the green footlocker, which is still filled with his books, his pens, and just letters and random shit, and dumps it all out. His stuff goes flying and rolling at least a 3-rack radius away. You might want to figure it the fuck out. He screams at him, and then we're all told to lock and then unlock our lockers again, and then they're counting down. 40, 39, 38, 32, 31, 30, and I see people freaking out, wiggling their locks because they either got the combo wrong or they forgot their combination entirely. This entire time, by the way, people who are moving too slow are getting their gear dumped, sea bags emptied, and mattresses flipped. Between each bunk out, you see everyone's gear starting to build up. There are hand sanitizer bottles busting open, soap on the ground, and DI stomping through all of it. I hear, so we have an attitude problem, right? And that's never good to hear. And keep in mind, all the DIs are screaming different things at the same time. And I see someone's war bag go flying across the room, smack a column. We had these columns laid up between some racks, and all the contents inside then explode onto the floor. By now, we still have at least 4 people who just can't get their locks open, and so the DI makes the entire platoon start sprinting back and forth across the squad bay. Now, like I said, the floor is covered with personal items. I'm trying to run and not wipe out on random shit while also trying to make the count. And I practically throw myself onto the quarterdeck before I hear them scream at us to run to the other side. Shit is being kicked all over the room. People's toothbrushes, shampoo, clothes, spare boots, dental floss are all getting mixed together. We are then told to run back to our racks, and then I hear a voice say, "What the fuck are you smiling at?" I don't say anything, I just keep staring straight ahead at attention, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm not smiling, so he can't be talking about me. And then I feel a gush of wind as the DI explodes in front of me and screams, "Respond!" I'm completely caught off guard and forget to talk in the third person, and so I say, "I'm not smiling, sir." Bro loses it. It's this recruit. He grabs the war bag out from behind me, my own personal war bag, and then it had like my hiking kit and a bunch of other stuff, and he bites that shit to the floor as hard as he can, right at my feet. The entire bag erupts. It looks like if you shot open a loot box in a video game. By the way, getting our items dumped, mattresses thrown, and so on and so forth is a Marine Corps tradition and what is referred to as a tornado because it looks like a tornado ripped through your building. My hygiene bag, which comes in this coyote brown rectangular box, skids to the other side of the aisle just as another DI was walking by. This DI takes one look in our direction, looks at me, and I'm not like trying to stare at him or anything, I'm staring off into space, but I can see him in the corner of my eyes, and he proceeds to curb stomp that hygiene bag, and my shaving cream bottle bursts alongside everything else in it, comes shooting out of the bag. Our toothbrushes come in this two-piece plastic cylindrical carrying piece that you can snap together with holes on both ends to drain out the water, and I see it go skidding across the floor into a pile of other people's gear. And then I hear it again. Stop smiling. Now, I realized at boot camp that I have a resting jolly face. I did my official face reveal in the Russian roulette video, by the way, for anyone surprised to see my face in stream. Also follow me on Twitch. And I know that in real life, I look like I'm about to hand you 3 popsicles and wish you good luck on your journey. That being said, I genuinely had no idea that my resting face was a jolly. If you have like what's called a resting bitch face in real life, you know, people that have that angry scowl on their face all the time that they can't help, you sort of figure it out because people either tell you or you just sort of figure it out because you always convey some negative vibes. If you have a resting jolly face, people just assume you're happy about something and don't really think too much about it and point it out. That's why up until this point, nobody told me I had a resting jolly face. And since this was Marine Corps boot camp, the place where joy is not allowed, having a jolly face is equivalent of telling your DIs that they should go fuck themselves, and so not realizing it yet, that it looks like I'm smiling, I go, this recruit is not smiling, sir. And he goes, so we want to play games. He probably thought I'm trying to be a smartass while this entire time I had no idea it looks like I'm giving a devious grin. He takes my sea bag, unbuckles it, and dumps everything out and starts kicking my shit across the room. My items once again get mixed in with everybody else's that got dumped in the middle of the aisle. I can't see what he's looking at, but someone must have looked at him in the face as he turned around in the midst of field kicking my items. Because the next thing I hear is, what the fuck are you looking at? And the dude sprints, like bro, like dead on Olympic sprints across the room to whoever was staring at him, and then I hear more screaming. And then I hear this same voice boom across the room above all others, which is pretty impressive since everybody's basically screaming something at this point. What do you find so funny? And this time I figured he was talking about me. I turn my body slightly so I can see what he's about to do without actually staring at the DI, and I see him pick up one of those big cafeteria industrial trash cans sitting next to where you enter the bathroom, or the head as we called it, and he launches the trash can at me. The trash can only has a couple paper towels in it, and I just remembered the little tissues flying out of the trash can as it was heading in my direction like parachutes coming out of an airplane. Because this was an almost empty trash can with not that much weight and not very aerodynamic, it misses me completely and lands probably 10 meters short. At the same time, while I'm trying to see if the trash can would annihilate me, I see a DI shove another recruit between the racks and then topple the metal racks over him. He gets up to me, starts screaming again, and this time I force myself to scowl, or at least it looked like I'm not smiling. And once I fix my face, he screams at something else and spits into my face and then proceeds to go to another recruit who looks like he's about to burst into tears after being messed with by another DI. At this point, I see footlockers and war bags emptied out, there are shampoo bottles and random liquids all over the floor, and finally, after what felt like an eternity of getting messed with, we're told to grab our shit and get ready to form up. Everyone's scrambling to salvage whatever they could. My green skivvy shirts are covered with random liquids and footsteps and from like people running over them and stuff and stomping on bottles of soap. I then realized that I was missing my right combat boot, which got tossed and lost sometime during my stuff getting dumped out. I then realized that I also could not find my toothbrush. And so I ended up grabbing a right boot that didn't fit me that I just randomly found laying around, which meant that someone else in the platoon also had my boots, and I ended up grabbing a random toothbrush that no one claimed in the corner of the squad bay, and it was missing the plastic covering carrying case, while also landing in the corner of the room where all the spiders and dead skin cells hang out. So I ended up using someone's toothbrush for like a week until I had a chance to get it replaced. That night I went around the squad bay asking who had my combat boots, and so I ended up finding the person, and we thankfully swapped it back. I mean, there was no incentive not to. And that is what happened in just the first hour or so of meeting my drill instructors, but things were just getting started as I still had 12 more long weeks ahead of me. But those stories are for future episodes. If you enjoyed this video, check out both my civilian Marine Corps stories if you missed any, and follow me on Twitch if you want to. But regardless of what you do, I thank you for your support and making it to the end, and for all your love and support, and above all, I hope you have a wonderful day.